We want to invite you to come and compete this season on Top Chef.
Oh, heard. Heard. Um, Damn. Okay. I grew up in a small county in Maryland. We probably have more cows than we do people.
So yeah, I have a pound of scrapple in my freezer right now. Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for pushing play on my little pod. You have a lot of pods to choose from, but you chose mine, so thanks. I appreciate it. Just a reminder to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content, and to make sure to like and subscribe, hit the little bell icon to keep up with all things Eat Your Content, all things food and pop culture. We are deep into Top Chef season 23, and I am thrilled to have Chef Anthony Jones with me today to talk about his ups and downs, his life before Top Chef, his life since Top Chef, his life during Top Chef, just all things Top Chef. Chef Anthony Jones, so thank you so much for joining me on the pod. Glad to have you on.
Rich, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
So the timing of this is serendipitous, and I'd be remiss to not even start with this question, but how did the watch party go after watching you get eliminated last week? A shocking elimination, I would say.
Yeah.
If I feel safe saying that, but I'm sure you had friends watching. I don't know if you had watch parties like most people do, but
Yeah.
was there a collective, oh no, at the restaurant?
There was not necessarily in that sense because like the cooks they weren't able to watch it while we're in the middle of service, but there was like one point where my phone just kept going off, whether it was phone calls or text messages or notifications, and I automatically knew what it was. It was friends and family reaching out saying, "Hey, we're happy for you, we're proud for you, sad it happened, XYZ, XYZ." So yeah, it was definitely a good amount of positive feedback from my support.
That's great. That's great. So I'm not for sure when this is uploading, but we just finished season episode 11, the Down the Rabbit Hole episode. So that's kind of my urgency in wanting to ask this in case in
Yeah.
case the listeners are like, man, this was like a couple weeks ago. What are you talking about?
No,
But
you're good.
what's that?
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, yeah. So before we talk Top Chef, you are not new to competition. You actually were on Chopped in 2022 and are a Chopped
Yes.
champion. How much did Chopped prepare you for Top Chef? And was Chopped your first televised competition?
Yes, Chopped was my first televised competition. But I mean, honestly, I don't think you can compare the two. The whole premise of both competitions or shows is completely different. I mean, I do think that being on Chopped did help experience-wise when it came to, like, quick fires. Depending on the quick fires, like, "Oh, this is just like a little Chopped episode." That's how, like, the best way to look at it, and try and make the most out of it because, as you're well aware from previous seasons and this season, we have some pivots. There's a few curveballs, whether it's, puffifying Christmas or if it's, you're moving down the station to your right or left and absorbing a different dish. So, it's good to have that mindset to where you can kinda bob and weave with the quick fire challenge.
Yeah, yeah. So I do kind of equate Chopped to be like quick fires, like a series of quick
Yeah.
fires. They throw kind of the same type of curveballs at you on both shows. But Top Chef is its own kind of animal. Was Top Chef, we're 23 seasons in, so it's there's enough seasons there where chefs today have kind of grown up in the
Right.
industry with the growth of Top Chef. Was Top Chef a goal for you as you were coming into your own as a chef? You were like, you know what, I'm at a place now where I think Top Chef could be a realistic thing for me.
It's one of those things where I definitely always wished and dreamed for it to happen. I didn't necessarily think that it was going to because hundreds and thousands of chefs apply every year, of course, and a lot of them get told no. And like I'm very blessed that I was told yes, that I was picked. So I was happy to be on the show. But if I told you back like right out of culinary school or like my first sous chef gig, if I was going to be on Top Chef, I I I couldn't told you that I was predicting that. I was watching it religiously ever since the first season. And it's been great to see how the show's been developing and evolving as time's been going on.
Yeah. So let's jump back in time a little bit. What was your first? inkling that being a chef was what your life's calling was going to be? Was it growing up at home and cooking at the knees of your mom and grandma, or was it something different?
Different, man, different. For me, it was literally I was staying up late because I just gotten some good grades in school. So my dad would let me stay up late and watch anything I want on TV. And so we're scrolling through, and it was like on the old I guess old Food Network station, and we found Iron Chef, but the original version, the Japanese version. And I was like, "Oh, no, no, dad, let's watch this, let's watch this." Because, the intro is cool, the music, the theme music's insane, the smoke and everything, the mist is rising up. And for me to see professionals cooking at that level and preparing food with that much respect, and then to see how they interacted with the panel, with the judges. Sure, the judges were giving them feedback, but it was different. And I don't know if it's necessarily obviously there was cultural reference behind that and why, but the chefs were so revered, rising up from, the podium on their little stadium, each one distinct in their own certain way. And at that moment, I was like, shit, I think I want to be a chef. I want to cook. Um, and I haven't looked back ever since.
So it's like, so for you, it was like watching a sporting event as a kid and be like, yeah,
Yes.
I want to be Michael Jordan,
Yes,
watching the
100%.
magic on the court,
Yeah.
and watching him do his things. Like, yeah, I want to be a basketball player. So for you, it was watching the OG Iron Chef and
Yes.
seeing these chefs not as cooking in the kitchen, but as professional athletes
Right.
in a sense.
Yeah.
And you're like, I
100%.
want some of that. I want
Yeah.
some of that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So that is a very different way to come into cooking, because I've talked to a lot of chefs, and a lot of it comes from childhood memories. Like, oh yeah, my mom was a great cook, and I wanted to cook like her. But you're like, nah, I want the fame, I want the
Yeah.
glory, I
Well,
want to
no,
be
because
up there.
it's crazy because everyone in my family cooks. Everyone in my family is excellent in the kitchen, but none of them do it professionally because that just wasn't really considered. I don't want to say a good job for us, but like it wasn't something that anyone necessarily strived for in the family. It was
Sure.
always, law enforcement, doctor of some medical field of some sorts, sports, of course, higher education, even more blue collar work and labor, more intense jobs or focused jobs were of higher regard than cooking.
Yeah, no, I get
So
that.
yeah,
I get that. Like, I'm
yeah,
Asian, so my mom wanted me to, be a doctor, lawyer, podcaster was certainly not on her bingo card. So I get that. I get that.
yeah,
So did you feel with that type, with you choosing that career path, did you feel a lot of pressure to prove yourself to your family, knowing that they want you to go down the traditional path of
yeah.
accountant, lawyer, doctor, blue collar, or white collar worker? Do you feel
Mhm.
like you had a lot to prove to your family to say this can be a legitimate career and make something of it?
Yeah, I mean, so my family knows that I'm pretty stubborn on certain things, and once I make up my mind on something, I need to see it through. So they're like, okay, he said he wants to be a chef. Either this will work out for him, or something will happen halfway through, whatever the case might be. And they're like, and they figured that I would pivot if I need to and do a different career path. But after the first initial shock of it, everyone was supportive. No one knew though what my trajectory or career would look like because we never had a blueprint of what to go off of versus like other avenues and other careers. You kind of know what the finish line is or could be or the heights of things, but for cooking, I mean, it was wide open.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your early career. You worked with Marcus Samuelsson, and he also had a mentee last season with Tristan Epps.
Yeah.
And had you made it through, he would have had back to back, chefs.
Yeah,
That would have been a little feather in his cap there. But
for
how did
sure.
working with Marcus Samuelsson teach you about food beyond technique, the emotion of it, and the importance of telling your story through your food?
Yeah, I mean, no, for sure. With Marcus, it's all about making sure that everything on the plate has meaning, has purpose, but that it's relatable, not only to the chef who's making it, but to the guests as well. So, just because I think it's amazing doesn't necessarily guarantee there's going to be an amazing dish or a banger. Like there has to be a connection there to where if you're eating it, it transports you to what or the scene that I'm describing, or it sparks a memory or something that resonates within you as well. So it has been an amazing learning experience to try and grasp that part of cooking and that part of food.
Was there a specific lesson that he taught you that completely changed the way you approach cooking?
I mean that the man is adamant about never compromising on flavor and quality. That has been like a golden standard, especially here at the restaurant. We uphold it. He's like, if it's not 100%, don't do it. He's like, don't do it. He's like, it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of everyone's time. It's a waste of skill set and effort. He's like, if you can't stand behind it, you know it's a home run. Then why are we talking about it? So like that stubbornness in a sense, or like that just focus is like beyond crucial.
Yeah. So in my podcast, I've talked about how Top Chef as a cultural touchstone on the culinary industry has changed the way people approach the industry as a chef, but also has
Mm.
changed how me, as not a chef, as a diner, has changed the way I eat and approach food. So, do you think diners today care more about storytelling than they did 10 years ago because of shows like Top Chef?
I think so. I mean, because of shows like Top Chef, it makes us as, chefs or as, in the food industry professionals more relatable to the normal person, the person who has that 9 to 5, like them seeing a glimpse of what we can do or what our lives are like or what, some of our challenges can be. It makes them feel a bit more compatible and they just relate to us more. And I think you've seen that when you go into restaurants. There's always going to be some diners who are a little more critical than others, and that's perfectly fair. They're spending their money, but there are also people who come in and they're coming in just because of how you articulated yourself, your story, or whatever, via whatever platform, and they want to be part of that. They want to experience that, and to have people who are willing to come in and eat the food, not just because it tastes good, but they're trying to nourish more than just their stomachs. They're trying to nourish their minds and bodies.
Yeah. So let's talk. Let's pivot into Top Chef now. You're
Gotcha.
on the show. So how did Top Chef enter the picture for you? Like what was the instigating incident that made you go, okay, this is the time I want to apply? Or how many times have you applied before you finally got the yes?
Yeah, so I the opportunity came up via email. Someone was like, "Oh, you should apply for this," and I was like, "You know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a try." I've applied for shows in the past, and I'm not always accepted. I think that sometimes I don't interview well on Zooms, ironically enough.
You're
Just
doing
because
great, by the
it's
way.
always thank you, always because it's like lead with big huge energy, and I'm more of a go with the pace, ride the vibe type of person. But once I started doing the interview process and talking to everyone, and they just ask the right questions to get the true version of me that was what they wanted to see and what they wanted to experience on the competition on the show.
So who's the first person you told when you got the yes?
Oh, the first person I told when I got the yes, who was that? I think it might have been either my best friend or my sister at the time.
Nice, nice. So
Yeah,
how do you I mean, you said you were a fan of Top Chef since season 1, but,
yeah.
watching it as a fan and then now being a participant, how did you prepare for Top Chef? There's a lot of there's a lot of urban myths, or not urban myths, but there's a lot of people that, have been on the shows like, "Oh my god, I practiced this, I practiced that." What did you do to prepare yourself for this season of Top Chef?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Rich. I honestly, I don't want to say I didn't, but I mean, I remember for season 1, I remember Harold, and from there to Tristan's season, so 22 seasons. The only things that repeat themselves are restaurant wars, the mise en place, or the relay race. I think that's it. And every once in a while, there might be the can you identify this ingredient, or you have to create a dish by trying to identify what ingredients are left. But besides that, everything's different. So there's really nothing to prepare for. Once it was public knowledge and everything, where we knew where we were going. Sure, do your research on the region, on the countries, on the cuisine, and what makes those cities special. But outside of that, I mean, there's nothing you because you don't know what's gonna get thrown at you, you know. I didn't practice making an apple themed dessert for 300 people. That wasn't, no one plans that. No one plans that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only so much you can do, right? You can research the region, but had the fans been a little bit more troll like in episode 11 and picked Pawpaw instead of Peaches,
Yeah,
that might have been a whole different quick fire. you
exactly.
know?
And that I would have loved actually. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
That it was funny because Sherry on that episode was like, "Yeah, if you eat the peels and if you eat the seeds, you're getting diarrhea." Like that would have been fun to try to navigate around, and
yeah,
somebody accidentally serve something and be like, yeah, this is not going to end well for any of us." But I will say the fans went easy on you guys with the peaches and the 30 minutes. Me, I would have picked Pawpaw in 15 minutes, just because I'm there's a
Ye-
little Schadenfreude in me of
yeah. But
wanting to
that would have
see.
been easier
Really?
because well, they gave us an ingredient that Kristen's allergic to.
Oh.
So it forced us to have to apply heat to the product. So like it took certain preparations we couldn't do. With pawpaw, at least it could have been raw, could have been cooked. There was more avenues to go.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. So, was there a challenge? Like, whenever I watch Top Chef, sometimes it always makes me laugh that the professional chefs that go on there all of a sudden forget how to cook sometimes. Was there a challenge that you watch back? Because I'm sure you were watching the episodes this season that you watch back and go, oh my God, what the heck was I thinking doing that?
Yeah. I for me definitely would be the sides challenge. I make collard greens. Like we make them here at the restaurant religiously, like 44 quarts plus at a time worth of collards. But the using a pressure cooker, like I've never really had to use one before because I always have time. I'm never in a situation where I'm necessarily rushing, and if so, I just pivot into a different dish. But for some reason, like in that pressure cooker, the salt didn't. It just compounded and compounded, and I mean, we all know how that went down at judge's table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So when you're in Top Chef, you're away from family, you're away from friends for a couple of months, and it gets a little lonely, I'm sure. I mean, you're around a lot of people, but you're kind of alone. How
right.
much did it mean to you to connect to Lawrence on, Warhammer 40,000 and
Yeah.
kind of nerds unite kind of thing, and you had something in common there?
Yeah, no, it was great because I think, obviously, the twins had each other. And, Jen and Justin, they had each other. So, but it was great to have something to talk, so having someone to talk to that was willing to listen to and communicate with me in like my own language and just nerding out. And like we didn't have to talk about food, it could be anything else. So, that was a great thing to have someone to communicate with.
What shocked you the most about filming Top Chef that you were not expecting? Having watched all the seasons and you're like, "Oh, this is much harder in person than they edit on TV."
There is I think that most people, and even myself a little bit, because you always watch and you're like, man, why are they running so much? What's going on? Like they have plenty of time, whatever the case might be, hours, stars, or whatever. And then looking back, I think to myself like I literally ran every episode, and it wasn't because I necessarily made a mistake during the challenges. No, it's like I just needed every second to matter. So definitely like time management, that crunch is real, and like the physicality of it. It is a pretty intense competition.
So did you feel that the pace was harder than expected when you came into the competition?
A little bit, a little bit. I was like, oh, 3 hours for a challenge, 1 hour for a challenge. I mean, the first challenge was sweet potatoes in an hour, so that was like a big eye opener. Like, oh shit, heard this is the route we're gonna go. Understood.
So you had a lot of standout challenges. You were doing great. We were talking off camera. You were one of the top draft picks for Chef Corwin, who's the guest host of my podcast this season. And you and Lawrence were the top point getters of all the chefs. Everybody, no one was even touching you guys. So you had a lot of standout challenges. Was there a particular challenge, or did you feel like your confidence was growing with each win, uh, going from challenge to challenge?
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely helps. Winning a challenge or coming in the top three, it helps give you that momentum. It helps, you're riding that momentum in each challenge. And obviously, you don't want to let it go to your head. You don't want to get too cocky and think that you can like ease up on the gas at any point in time, or stretch yourself too thin and do something that's way out of your comfort zone or too crazy. But yeah, no, I definitely would say that like being consistent, doing consistently well, it does help. It does make a difference.
Was there a particular dish that you cooked that really displayed you on the plate that you look at now and you go, yeah, that's me on a plate?
I would honestly say it was the dehydration challenge.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because it gave me all the time I needed to do the planning that was necessary. To like, and then just to layer in as many flavors as possible. Because like when you're doing these type of competitions, normally time's always against you. So you can make amazing things, but to do that, most of the times, like ironically enough, you need time to do it. There's to get the proper caramelization, umami, any fermentation, stuff like that. And for that challenge, I was able to like break down the dish into parts and pieces and just focus in on just building and layering flavors as much as possible.
Yeah. Was there a particular edit in one of the challenges that watching it back made you laugh because they cut out all the funny parts that led up to that?
Um, maybe in the whole hog. I think the camera caught me asleep the whole entire like I was asleep like maybe an hour or two. And like that one was pretty crazy just because I pulled an all-nighter. Like Brandon and I, we were there for forever watching that hog and making sure that the fire was properly lit and temperature was on point.
What that all-nighter, like how much of a toll did that take on your body from going to that challenge to the next challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I always think, like, oh, I'm young and I'm spry and I can, bounce back. After that challenge to the next one, I think it was like literally we did whole hog. I think the next one was the dessert challenge.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus, this is the worst combination. I'm tired as hell, and then I'm working in my like one of my weakest categories is dessert. I'm like, this is the worst time to be handicapped, but
Was Restaurant Wars everything you hoped it would be and more?
Oh God, Restaurant Wars. It was fun. It was great. I honestly, the team that we were able to build, the execution, the dream. I mean, I think we definitely delivered for sure, 100% on that one. And I was surprised by the carryout aspect or the to-go order taking, just because obviously we all do it in restaurants, in our establishments already. But that's like in restaurant wars, we all know that we're trying to deliver a great service. But when the judges come in and they sit down, you will, maybe not intentionally, but you will stop service for 3 or 4 tables just so everything the judges get is on point and impeccable. So you already have to factor that in, and then but at the same time, you have a phone ringing next to you, and like 30 people trying to pick up their food, and someone saying that they can't wait 30 minutes because they have to pick their son up from soccer practice, so they need it within like 15, and you're like, "What? That makes no sense. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I was thinking the takeout twist in Restaurant Wars I liked, but the way it was edited, it didn't seem to factor in all that much. I mean, they showed a couple of hiccups, somebody forgot
Mm.
utensils and somebody didn't get a dessert, but the way it was edited, it didn't really look like it threw that big of a wrench into things. In reality though, because a lot of the chefs that are on the show are in fine dining that don't do takeout, don't do
Yeah.
DoorDash or Uber Eats or anything like that, how much of a pivot was that for you guys in reality? Like, how much harder was it than what TV made it out to look?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. And you're right. Like, luckily for me, like Lawrence, his restaurant, it's a good, maybe not 50-50 split, but there's just as much carry out as there is dine in. And then us, I operate inside of a hotel, so I have in-room dining and even to-go orders to have to worry about in the middle service. So I think that us being flexible and having that attitude about it, and Sherry is just she's a beast. She's a juggernaut. So if whatever the mission is, she's gonna deliver on that and execute it to the best of her abilities. So I'm just really blessed that we had that chemistry with each other and we knew how to play off each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, Corbin and I were joking that next season needs to be a brand partnership with DoorDash or Grubhub or something, and have the takeout thing, and then have actual drivers going in and shoving phones in
Oh my
in,
God.
in the front of house. Whoever plays the front of house face be like, "I got an order,"
Yeah.
just to see. Now that would make an interesting TV,
Yes. Yes.
for that one, because I would love to see drivers' phones just being shoved in the face of whoever's in the front of house. But maybe we'll see. I don't know. So I want to talk about the judging aspect of the show, the stew room. What
Yes.
was the longest stew room during your season?
I think that's a good question. I think the longest stew room were probably the most difficult or controversial challenges. So definitely restaurant wars because well, it's a restaurant war, so it always takes forever, and there's so many of us still. The color, the dye challenge,
Hmm.
that one was a long one, and I think that's about it. Really, those two I remember like it just being painful how long it was taking.
How many hours was it?
Oh, I mean, it was enough for me to take a nap, for some of
Oh
the
wow.
contestants to, like, work on a puzzle, for me to wake up from the nap, help them with some puzzle pieces, and then put my head back down.
Oh my lord, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So the color challenge, I'm glad you brought that up. What was it about that dye challenge that threw everybody for like literally everybody for a loop? Like nobody seemed to get
Yeah.
that challenge. What was so difficult about it?
I think let's see, how best to articulate it. I mean, I think it was just because of how the challenge was presented to us, in a sense of make a colorful dish using these natural ingredients and dyes. But the issue is when you use natural ingredients and dyes, the color naturally fades because it's not like the processes that we use it for in cooking weren't used in in actual practices to help sustain the dye and help it hold in clothing or whatever the case might be. So I think for us right off the bat, that one was difficult to wrap your mind with, and I think some chefs thought just add as much color as possible. Like for me personally, I my whole perception of it was I want my dish to have colors, but I want the colors to also have flavor behind it because at the end of the day, I'm still cooking. So if I use chamomile, guajillo, yellow bell peppers, and whatever the case might be, and ají amarillo, like those are all gonna give me that orangish like color that I'm going for, but they're also gonna have a flavor that goes along with them. So it makes sense. And that's just how I tackled it.
Yeah. So, what what's the most nerve-wracking thing? Because we talked about you were on the bottom, you got eliminated. But what's the most nerve-wracking thing about being on the bottom and fielding those questions? Like, there's a few questions that I know that I would hate to get. Like, did you mean for that to be like that?
Yeah.
What was your like, what was your thought process of doing this? Or
Yeah.
what were some of those nerve-wracking things about being at the judges table?
I mean, basically what you just said, literally, is this how you intended it to be? And most of the times, yes, it is. Because sometimes we are surprised when we're on the bottom because from our minds, from our perceptions, we executed and gave a good dish. And then other times, maybe for, because we're only allowed so much time to interact with the judges when we're presenting our dish. And maybe in that moment, we didn't communicate or explain our dish appropriately enough or well enough for them to have the perception that we want intended for them to have. So, I mean, there's a disconnect there because when you're in the dining room in a regular business or establishment, the servers are your voice. They're the ones communicating your vision, your food, your dish, so on and so forth. And then even, you can go out and talk to the guests and diners and field any questions and any, misconceptions for clarity purposes. But in this situation, it's this is, and you just have to take they take it at that face value. They can only look into it so deeply, because they're not asking us questions in the moment before they make their judgment, to a certain degree. So there's that, and we all at the end of the day want to cook amazing food. So it's just gutting, when you don't rise to the expectation sometimes.
Is there anything that can prepare you for when Tom walks around and asks you a question that makes you question every life decision you ever made up until that point?
No, no, no. Because Tom will come and ask you. You might. in all honesty, in like in the most realist way, have the best possible dish in that moment. And then Tom will ask you a question and you'll second guess every component of the dish. And then as soon as you start doing that and I mean, there should always be room for change. You should always pivot if you need to. But sometimes, like, you just got to trust your gut. If you think it's a banger, then roll with it. And even if it's not, at least you believe in yourself. So,
Yeah, I think Sherry was a great example in this most recent episode of that
yeah,
when Tom was saying, "Hey, this jerk normally isn't braised," and she's like, "No, I'm sticking with this, and this is and you're gonna like it."
yeah,
And that was her kind of sticking. Her winning. I think the moral of the story was stick to your guns. Just if you
exactly.
know it's like you're saying, if you know that the dish is a banger, then stick with it and prove to
Yeah,
people that what you're doing is right. So it's just so funny to watch him walk around, question, and then people like spin out and
yeah.
start spinning out in real time about what the dish that they're making. So one question I always ask whenever I have Top Chef contestants on my show is the chef Anthony that came out of Top Chef a different chef Anthony than the one that came in?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, like personality wise, I am. I don't really like I haven't changed very much. I'm still the same nerdy, dorky person I was on during the competition. It is so much fun interacting with fans, and just getting like their reactions and answering their questions because everyone thinks about things differently. So it's always great to see their feedback from it. But I think for sure, confidence has increased quite a bit. I'm very certain about what I'm doing, the goals I want to accomplish, and really, it just like no pun intended, it just made me hungry for more.
Yeah, so you've been on Chopped, you've been on Top Chef. Has the competition bug bit you, and you're like itching to go on another one? Is
Not
there
necessarily.
a competition show that you are wanting to go on?
That's a good question. I need to watch more TV to be able to answer that question better. Like no, I just want to keep proving that I'm amazing, I'm great, and that I can do amazing work. So that's what being on the competition has done. It's made me a bit more aggressive in that sense.
Good. Is there a dish that you made on the show that either is on your menu or you plan to put on your menu anytime soon?
Ooh, definitely not rabbit.
Come on, I bet if you had 1,000 chances to make that, it'd be perfect every time.
Oh yeah, I mean, literally, if I just put some sauce inside the cigar, the egg roll, what the judges were calling it, like I think my situation would be a lot different. It's like, man, if only just add a little more sauce. But no, I think because of how the challenges are, and it's so specific and kind of chaotic at the same time, it's kind of hard to recreate that moment and that thought process for those dishes. Maybe some iterations down the road, like, the banger broth I did for the dehydration challenge. That's on the menu right now for my tasting menu at the restaurant. So, like, there's elements that I'll pull from here and there, but I kinda wanna just, like, let those just live on for that competition and then just go on different avenues.
Just a moment in time, a snapshot
Yep,
of your life at that
yep.
point. That's great. That's a good answer. It's a good answer. So, what's the future look like for you?
Ooh,
What's the
good question.
goals now? Because Top Chef, I always say, even if you lose, you still win.
Yeah.
So, what do you hope this platform of Top Chef kind of catapults you into for the future?
Definitely more exposure, of course. Not necessarily a household name, but in a sense of where it puts me in a position to where I can do more with my career, but also benefit the community around me. DC is a great, amazing food scene, dining scene, and culture. So obviously shedding light on that and trying to brighten it up at the same time. And just be a good example. I have the next generation of cooks and chefs working with me currently. So if at any point I can ignite that spark in them or nurture it down the road, and they end up in the same position and they're on Top Chef, like that would make me one of the proudest people in the world.
A legacy, so to speak.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to give you the last couple of minutes here, just to let you promote whatever you want to promote. Where can people find you on socials to follow you and your career and your life? And take a couple of minutes to promote your restaurant. Anything going on that if people are in the area, where can they find it? And
Yeah.
anything special that they can come out to try?
Gotcha. Yeah, so Instagram handle is Chef Anthony J. I'm the executive chef here at Marcus DC. We're in Washington, DC, located in the Noma Gallaudet area. We're also inside the Morrow Hotel. Let's see, new exciting things. Tasting menu, just launched it, I think, last month. We're gonna have a few more summer changes coming down the road. And I'm gonna be doing some more events, collabs, and pop-ups here later on this year, and gonna plan for some amazing stuff for next year.
Awesome. Awesome. Chef Anthony, thank you so much for being on the pod. It was
Rich,
a joy
been a
watching you on
pleasure.
TV. I hate to see you go in this early or this so close to the finish. I hated to see you
I know,
leave.
I
And
know.
but you did great. You represented yourself really well, and you represented Afro-Caribbean cuisine really well on the show. So thank you so much for your time, folks. Don't forget to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Each Content. If you like this type of content, leave a review. I'd appreciate that. For Chef Anthony, I'm Rich Herrera. Thank you so much for joining, and come back to the pod anytime. Next year's draft, I would love to have you on.
Awesome. I'll be there.